This is the global communist movement. What I'm telling you here, this is what they think in China. This is what they think in Vietnam. This is what they think in North Korea. This is what they think in Cuba. This is what they think in Nicaragua. And all those countries support Russia in Ukraine, right? What you hear from these American, these woke people who think they're communists has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with what the global communist movement believes, right? It's not what Marta Harnecker thinks. It's not what Vietnam thinks. It's not what Xi Jinping is writing in his Governance of China books that are great, right? Go and read it for yourself. There's 3 volumes now. Xi Jinping, the Governments of China. This is where Marxism is at right now. If you want to know Marxism, the people that are putting into practice, read this, right? Read this. Or better yet, go and read the ideological journal of the Chinese Communist Party. This is the official ideological magazine of the Chinese Communist Party. This is where communism is at, right? Funny, there's not a single article I've ever read in Kuei-Shi about transgenderism. Not a single one. There's not a single article I've ever read in Kuei-Shi about white male privilege, right? This is where Marxism is at. And this shit that we have in the West, that ain't it. That is not it. You know, it's not it. And, you know, all these people who hate me for Dugin, look at how, you know, I get baited. This is my classic example. Then I'll keep answering super chats because I got plenty more to say. But, you know, I get baited because I met with Alexander Dugin once, right? Alexander Dugin is on Chinese state media all the time. So, you know, and who else do I get baited with? I'm friendly. I'm very good friends. I love Daniel Burke and the Lyndon LaRouche movement. Helga LaRouche, the leader of the Schiller Institute, she is on Chinese state media like every day. So if you are like, oh my God, don't talk to Caleb, he talks to LaRouche, you're out of step with the global communist movement. They go to global communist gatherings. They appear in Chinese state media, you know, and you're like, oh, don't talk to Caleb. He talks to the LaRouche movement. Well, so does China. Right? Oh, don't talk to Caleb. He talks to Dugin. Dugin's frequently on Chinese state television. You know, I mean, these people don't get it. And I want to let you all in on a little secret. This is just something you need to know about the left, because it's like a lot of people, they just can't figure this out, right? They just can't figure this out. But yeah, I just have to let you all know about it, right? In case you didn't know, you will never satisfy these people. The haters, you will never satisfy them. Ever. Nothing you can do. I mean, I suppose you can sell out, right? And just abandon anti-imperialism, abandon Marxism, and just start repeating their crap, and that will satisfy them. But aside from that, nothing that you will do will ever satisfy these people. I have a record of anti-racism a mile long. At our recent conference, we had a group of black revolutionaries that are under attack from the American government speak at our conference, you know. But no, I'm a white supremacist. No, it's just common knowledge. Caleb's a white supremacist. Nothing you do matters. Doesn't matter that I videotaped an act of police brutality and got women acquitted in court because of my video. Doesn't matter that I'm, you know, I could go on and on. Nope. I'm a white supremacist. It's just common knowledge. Everybody knows it. It's all over Twitter. Nothing you do matters. So stop trying. That's my advice to you. Just don't even try. Don't try. As long as you're a revolutionary, as long as you're anti-imperialist, they're going to smear you. And they're going to declare that, you know, that you are somehow a white supremacist, neo-Nazi or whatever, right? That's what they do, right? You will never, nothing you do will satisfy these people. Nothing, right? Nothing you do will ever satisfy these people. They will call you racist. They will call you Nazi. They will call you fascist. And unless you become a pro-imperialist, anti-communist woke, they're going to call you that. So stop trying. And I don't know how many messages I've gotten from people over the years that say, oh, Caleb, if you'll just address the Dugin thing. I've addressed it a million times. I've said Dugin's not a fascist. I don't agree with everything Dugin's ever written. What else do you want to know? Right? Oh, if you'll just address it. I did. Right? Oh, if you'll just address this, if you just address that, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. You will never satisfy these people. Right? You will never satisfy them. And so don't try. That's my advice to you. Do not try. And you just got to out of the movement to the masses. I'm done with the left. I'm really done with it. I don't, for the most part, I don't care what the Workers' World Party thinks, what the Communist Party thinks, what the PSL thinks. I just don't even care what these groups think. Now, PSL needs to be called out. PSL is enough of a threat that they need to be called out. And we need to figure out, ways to confront PSL and ways to make PSL uncomfortable. Because PSL, at this point, they have got to be some kind of government operation. Because why are they trying so hard to attach anti-imperialism to wokeness? The wokes are the most pro-imperialist people ever. They're the most pro-imperialist people ever. But PSL, Ben Norton, Rania Kalik and Danny Haifeng and Brian Becker and Breakthrough News, and I am convinced, the Democratic Party, they love to pretend to be the friends of socialist countries, right? Barack Obama went to Cuba and he lifted, he established diplomatic relations, but the whole time he was there, he was setting up, a Cuban Twitter, and they were going to try to stage a color revolution. And then Trump got in and reversed almost all of it. Right? They know Obama got friendly to Libya. And then what happened, right? They were just setting the stage for a color revolution. The Democrats this is what they did during the time of the fall of the Soviet Union. All these Democrats were going over to the Soviet Union. Don't worry, it's Reagan and the right wing. They're the enemy, right? It's, Walter Mondale and Mike Dukakis, they like you, Gorbachev. And the Democrats love this. And they actively court the support of Cuba and China and these countries. They do, right? And part of that is this psyop to try and convince the socialist countries that the Democrats are their friends. And I am convinced that's what PSL does. PSL is a U.S. government psychological operation to try and convince North Korea and Cuba and China and Venezuela that, the Republicans are warmongering anti-communists, but, we're with you guys. We're with you. No, they're not. We all saw Nancy Pelosi go to Taiwan. No, you're not. We all saw that. We know what Joe Biden's been doing and his anti-China policy. Come on. But at this point, and you can tell this, the woke people are the most anti-China, anti-Russia, anti-Cuba, anti-Vietnam people you ever met. But PSL is there. It is a scam to help the Democrats maintain their back channel. That's why it exists. CPUSA serves the same purpose. It's there to lure, to go to socialist countries and whisper in their ears and say, don't worry, the Black Lives Matter movement supports Cuba. No, it doesn't. Oh, but, Brian Becker, he leads it, and, we support Cuba. So, yeah. It is a backdoor, a back channel between the Democratic Party and these countries. And it's a lie. It is a lie. They are scamming and lying to these countries because the Democrats are more pro-war at this point than the Republicans are. The Republicans want to decrease money for Ukraine. The Republicans, the Democrats are more pro-war. But PSL and CPUSA, by embracing wokeness but pretending to still support the socialist countries, it's a back channel. It's a way to go to those countries, and this is what led to the fall of the Soviet Union. This is how the Soviet Union fell. They pulled this crap. The reformist, Gorbachevist wing of the Soviet Communist Party was convinced that, the Democrats aren't so bad. We dissolve the Soviet Union, they won't economically demolish us. They'll let us just be more of a social democracy. They don't mind that we're communists. They just want us to have socialism with a human face, democratic socialism. It was the way they manipulate them. And that is what PSL is. PSL is some kind of government operation. It is some kind of government operation, and that's why they're neutral on Ukraine all of a sudden, right? For the longest time, PSL, all the Marcyites, their position was, all the Marcyites, all the Workers' World, PSL, all of them, was U.S. imperialism is the main danger. You always support anyone up against the U.S. imperialists. So why did they suddenly drop that? Why did they suddenly drop it? Of all the times to drop it, they could have dropped it in Libya. They could have dropped it in Syria. But all the times, they just suddenly, this is the one time that we're actually neutral. Both sides are to blame. Why? Why? Does it have anything to do with the fact that Joe Biden is the president? Does it have anything to do with the fact that, that all these woke kids are saying that anyone who supports Russia is a Nazi? Yeah, yeah, it's pretty obvious what's going on. I could go into more detail about this. Not everything has to be on the internet, but I have a lot more information. Um, you know, there's a lot more information out there that I could share with you, but I'm not ready to do that yet. But yeah, that's the role that PSL plays. And PSL, by keeping Marxism isolated from the masses, by reinforcing the delusion, right? Because all these Tea Party people, all these working class people that support Trump, they are convinced, the lockdowns are communism. They are convinced that, degrowth and making them poorer and grinding them into poverty, that it's communism. And PSL is there to help reinforce that delusion. PSL is there to take 20-year-olds who believe in communism and exploit them for 2 years, get them to work really, really hard to build rallies that Brian Becker can fundraise off of. And then after 2 years, they realize PSL is not going to grow because it's not meant to grow. It's a protest hustle. They have no intention of reaching the masses and winning over millions of people to socialism. They just stage liberal rallies and protests. That's what they do, right? After a few years of realizing that, then they quit and they go back to normal life and they hate communism. It's a revolving door. Some 20-year-olds join and they get exploited and they realize after a while that, oh, this is a scam. It's not actually intended to reach the masses. And then they move on with their lives. And Brian Becker continues to rake in the money and he lives a comfortable life. And they continue to maintain the illusion that communism is part of the left and the working people hate the left. The working people hate the left. They can't stand the left, right? The left wants to make them poorer. The left supports the FBI. The left supports the wars. And it's about keeping communism attached to the left, scamming and lying to the socialist countries, and also, taking advantage of a lot of younger people. It's everything that's wrong. And we need to find ways to challenge PSL. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but at this point, we would not be doing our duty. Lenin, if you go and read Imperialism and the Split in Socialism, Lenin says that it is our duty to expose the opportunists. And the fact that PSL looks like a tanky party, it looks like a real Marxist-Leninist party, and it ain't. That is a reason that they need to be confronted. No, that's an interesting observation, John. That's an interesting observation. But that's a reason that that they need to be confronted. And we need to challenge the PSL because, I don't know. It is much better. It is much better to be an honest counter-revolutionary than it is to be a phony. Right? The best argument for that I've ever read, it comes from the book of Revelations. The Bible, the book of Revelations, for those of you who may not be aware, was written by the early Christian church because the Christian church, it was a movement of the proletariat. In Rome, you had the working class, the proletariat, and they were the class. They weren't slaves, but they also didn't own any property, right? They were the proletariat. And the proletariat of Rome, they started organizing for their rights. And Christianity, the religion that worshipped Jesus the carpenter, this is all in Karl Kautsky's writing, right? If you read The Foundations of Christianity by Karl Kautsky, where's my copy of that? Here. The Foundations of Christianity by Karl Kautsky. It all gets into detail about this, right? And the book of Revelations, if you read it, right, it was basically a polemic. It was a wild manifesto by the early Christian church against the section of the Christian church that was accommodating with the Roman Empire, that was joining with the Roman Empire. That's what it was, right? There was a section of the Roman Empire, of the Christian church, that was accommodating with the Roman Empire. And if you read the book of Revelations, it's not ranting against non-believers. It's not ranting against non-Christians. It's ranting against the empire, the whore of Babylon, and it's ranting also against the phonies, the people who sold out and joined with the empire. And they speak in the name of God. They speak in the name of Christ, but they are actually serving the empire, right? They use the word of God to serve the empire. That's what That's what, they are, they are ranting against. Go read the book of Revelations. It's a polemic against those who are transforming Christianity into something to serve the Roman Empire rather than something to serve the proletariat in their struggle against the empire. Right? And that's what the book of Revelations is about. It's about how the Christian religion that started as a proletarian movement that was revolutionary is being co-opted by the imperialists. And if you read the book of Revelations, go and read it. Right? And it talks about it. It says, and it's so funny because people, they don't get it. This quote is often used by anti-Semites, and people will often point to this quote to say that the Bible is anti-Semitic. But what does it actually say? It says, those who say they are Jews, but are not Jews, they are the synagogue of Satan. It doesn't say that Jews are the synagogue of Satan. That's not what it says. It's saying that to be a Jew is a good thing. But those who say they are Jews, but are not Jews, meaning those who say that they are following their faith and staying true to their principles, but are lying and serving the enemy, that is the synagogue of Satan. So you read the quote, it's clearly not directed at Jews. It's not an anti-Semitic quote. It's saying that to be a Jew is a good thing. But those who say they are Jews, but are not Jews, they are the synagogue of Satan. And there's many quotes throughout the book of Revelations that are just like that. That refer to, those who sold out, those who abandoned the faith. It's a polemic. And if you go and read Imperialism and the Split in Socialism by Vladimir Lenin, you're reading the same thing. You're reading somebody who's talking about the movement of the proletariat being sold out and being abandoned, right? And those who say they are revolutionaries but are not revolutionaries. The social imperialists who took the movement of the proletariat and transformed it into a mechanism for stabilizing capitalism and imperialism. They said that they supported the working class, but then they sent the workers off to die in World War I. Those who wave the red flag to oppose the red flag. Those who preach socialism but practice fascism. Those who say they are Jews but are not Jews. That's what it's talking about. It is the exact same analysis, right? And that what was done to the movement of the proletariat in ancient Rome, the Christian movement of the proletariat, the way it got co-opted and turned into a method for stabilizing the Roman Empire, that was done to Marxism in Europe. Marxism was a movement of the proletariat to bring down Western imperialism, but they co-opted it and they turned it into a method of stabilizing their empire, right? And it is those that are the worst. If you're just a counter-revolutionary, if you're an anti-communist, fine, just say it. But those who speak in the name of our movement, but instead are serving the imperialists, those who dig into Marxism, just looking for a way they can twist it around to say we should support World War III with Russia. Those who dig into Marxism and find a little quote here or something that they can use to say that it's okay and we should support, destabilizing and driving down the wages of working people. Those who wave the red flag to oppose the red flag. That is the main danger. And I've read it on here so many times. I'm going to read it to you again because it must be said. If you disagree with what I'm saying here, you disagree with Lenin. One of Lenin's most important essays, Imperialism and the Split in Socialism. This is how he ends the essay. This is exactly how Lenin chose to end one of his most important essays. I'm dropping the link in the chat if you do not believe me. This is the last two paragraphs of Lenin's essay. This is what he wrote. Right? This is what he wrote. He wrote, neither we nor anyone else can calculate precisely what portion of the proletariat is following and will follow the social chauvinists and opportunists. This will be revealed only by the struggle, and it will definitely be decided only by the socialist revolution. We know for certain that the defenders of the fatherland in the imperialist war represent only a minority. And it is therefore our duty, if we wish to remain socialist, it is our duty. It's not an option. It's not something we might do or whatever. It is our duty. Our duty. If we wish to remain socialist, meaning that if we don't do this, we're not socialists. It is our duty. And if we wish to remain socialist, it is our duty. It is our duty Therefore, it is therefore our duty, if we wish to remain socialists, to go lower and deeper to the real masses. What do you think Lenin means when he says go lower and deeper to the real masses? Does that mean that we should go to Black Lives Matter rallies? Does that mean that we should go to liberal protests to keep abortion legal? Does that mean that we should only work with people who are 100% pro-LGBT and is that what that means? To go lower and deeper to the real masses. That means knock on doors in Kansas. That means knock on doors in Idaho. That means knock on doors in Arizona and Texas. That means go into working class neighborhoods in Chicago. That means go into working class neighborhoods in Atlanta. That means going into the impoverished rural areas, the suburbs, the trailer parks. It means going lower and deeper to the real masses, not waiting for them to come to you, but going lower and deeper to the real masses. This is the whole meaning of the purport of the struggle against opportunism. And then he goes on, by exposing the fact that these opportunists and social chauvinists are in reality betraying and selling the interests of the masses, that they're defending the temporary privileges of a minority of workers, because that's what PSL is doing. They're defending the temporary privileges of wealthy hipster trust fund kids. That's what they're doing, right? That they are the vehicles of bourgeois ideas and influences, that they are in reality allies and agents of the bourgeoisie. By doing that, we teach the masses to appreciate their true political interests and to fight for socialism and revolution, all through the long and painful vicissitudes of imperialist wars and imperialist armistices. The only Marxist-Leninist line in the world labor movement is to explain to the masses the inevitability and necessity of breaking with opportunism and educate them for revolution by waging relentless struggle against opportunism, to utilize the experience of war, not to conceal the utter vileness of national liberal labor politics. So if we don't go after PSL, if we don't expose the PSL, if we don't call out the PSL, we are not doing our job. We must go lower and deeper. We should have no interest in what PSL is doing. We shouldn't be trying to recruit the PSL. We should be mobilizing the masses, the lower and deeper real masses, against the opportunists. We should be getting crowds of low-income, working-class people that are hungry and suffering to go and beat the crap out of PSL. That's what we ought to be doing. Now, we're not doing that. We don't believe in violence. We don't break the law. But if we were doing what Lenin actually said, that's what we would be doing. We would be mobilizing the masses, the people that are actually suffering, to go and defeat these organizations that just defend the temporary privileges of certain workers, right? To defend the temporary privileges of certain workers. And we would use the war to prove it. We would show that when the shooting started in Ukraine, when the Russians said it's time to go and defend the people of Donbass, PSL lined up with the bourgeoisie and condemned Russia and repeated anti-Russian propaganda. We should use that to expose that. And we should be knocking on doors in Iowa and Pennsylvania and every working class state, building an army of working class people to understand that their enemy is not in Russia, it's not in China, it's not in Iran, it's in Wall Street, and it's in London, and it's in the Pentagon, and it's also in the PSL headquarters. And that anyone who mobilizes to support a U.S. imperialist campaign to attack independent countries is serving the enemy. That is what our job is, to go lower and deeper to the real masses and mobilize against the opportunists. It is far better to work with a working class person who is not a communist, who's against the war, than it is to work with PSL. I'm just telling you, PSL needs to be called out, and we are not doing our job if we do not wage a struggle, and if we do not go lower and deeper to the real masses and lead them and get them to understand that not only is Wall Street their enemy, not only is the Pentagon their enemy, but PSL is also their enemy. That is our job, right? They are worse about it. They're worse than the DSA. The DSA doesn't pretend to be anti-imperialist. But PSL, they try to pretend that they're for Cuba. What side is Cuba on in Ukraine? The PSL, they try to pretend that they support China. What side is China on in Ukraine? Oh, they try to pretend that they're supporting North Korea. What side is North Korea on in Ukraine? They are trying to take young people who really believe in communism and get them to work for the imperialists. They are the main danger. And they're trying to attach them to the woke fascism that is trying to grind the working people of this country into greater poverty. They are trying to demonize working class people of religious faith. They are trying to obsess over the LGBT thing. They are the main roadblock. And our job is to go lower and deeper to the real masses, build a real anti-imperialist movement. And on top of that, our job is to confront the opportunists. And that is exactly what PSL is. And Joe Sims of the CPUSA, our job is not to try and win over and unite with the global communist movement. That is not our job. That is not our job. When the communist movement in America is lining up with the imperialists, which is what they are doing, they are supporting World War III. It is our job to break with them, to cut ties with them. That's our job. Our job is to expose them and instead to go lower and deeper to the real masses. And a lot of the real masses are in the Libertarian Party. They're against the war. They're against the FBI. They're against the Pentagon. But in their minds, the Pentagon and the FBI are all socialists. Why? Because all the socialists support the FBI and support the Pentagon. Brian Becker says that, they didn't jail enough Trump supporters. He's invoking the Sedition Act, the law they used to jail Eugene Debs. He's invoking that after January 6th, right? So, of course, working class people are going to join the Libertarian Party. I would join the Libertarian Party if I didn't know anything about Marxism. And I was like, gee, I don't like the FBI. Gee, I don't like these lockdowns that are destroying our economy. Gee, I don't like World War III with Russia. Now, look at the communist groups. They all support the FBI. They all support the lockdowns. They all support World War III and hate Russia and demonize Russia. Should I join them? No, but the Libertarian Party is against the FBI, is against the lockdowns, is against the wars. So they join the Libertarian Party. Of course, they're going to join the Libertarian Party. Those workers who join the Libertarian Party, those workers who join the Libertarian Party because they don't understand Marxism, but they're against the FBI, they're against the Pentagon, they're against the lockdowns, they're against the Wall Street and the low-wage police state. They're better. It's better to work with them than it is to work with fake socialists, to work with those who wave the red flag to oppose the red flag. It is far better. It is far better. I don't care anymore if people call themselves socialists or not. I really don't care, right? I really don't care at this point. I care about if you support World War III or you're trying to stop it. I care if you support the FBI raiding the homes of the Uhuru movement and pointing the guns in the faces of black revolutionaries. I care if you support the FBI and the crazy anti-terrorism legislation that's coming down now. That's what I care about. Do you support the low-wage police state and World War III, or are you against it? And the working people of this country, we all know that in their bones, they're against it. Working people don't want another war. They're more against the wars than they've ever been. Ever before. The poll after poll shows that Americans are more anti-war than ever. But the anti-war movement is smaller than ever. And you know why? PSL, the Answer Coalition. They have attached the anti-war movement to wokeism. And because of that, Americans are anti-war and Americans are anti-woke. And the wokes are the pro-war minority. And the PSL is trying to keep the anti-war movement attached to the pro-war woke minority. And that's why the anti-war movement is tiny, because the Americans who are against wars are also the Americans who are against woke. And I'm ranting about this because this is so important. I mean, this is really, really important. Go and read it for yourself. Go read Imperialism and the Split in Socialism, right? It is our duty, if we wish to remain socialists, to go lower and deeper to the real masses and to expose the opportunists and to use war to expose the opportunists. It doesn't matter what your position is on trans and abortion and all of that. If you're supporting war against Russia, if you're neutral and you're repeating U.S. government propaganda against Russia, it doesn't matter. Any of that stuff, it's all just a smokescreen. A lot of these fake socialists that sent workers off to die in World War I, a lot of them, right? A lot of them. And thank you. Wrote it down. Wrote it down dark. A lot of them were for 8-hour work days and they were for votes for women and all of that, but it didn't matter. When the guns of August roared in 1914, they sent 20 million workers to die. And at that moment, Lenin said, the Second International is a stinking corpse, right? And that's the period that we're in. The socialist movement in America, the whole reason we say out of the movement to the masses is because the socialist movement in America is a stinking corpse. It is a stinking corpse. It is pro-war. It is pro-war. There you go. I get fired up about this stuff, folks. I get fired up about it. But people say, don't be sectarian, Caleb. No, we've got to find a way to confront the PSL. And we got to surprise them with it. They can't see it coming. But we have got to confront PSL. We got to expose PSL. And we got to show them that, they have launched a vicious smear campaign against all of us. They are already calling the upcoming rally on February 19th by Nick Brana. They're calling it a Nazi rally. They are repeating all the nasty lies about me. They're repeating all the nasty lies about Jimmy Dore. They are not only are they supporting the imperialists and repeating anti-Russian propaganda, but on top of that, they are waging a COINTELPRO State Department campaign against those of us who are strong enough not to do it. Right? If there's ever been a group of people who wave the red flag to oppose the red flag, there's ever been a group of people who, I don't know. I shouldn't say the Revelations quote again, or people are going to take it out of context. I don't even care at this point. That's the sad thing. I mean, this is the really sad thing about these smear campaigns, right? If you lie about someone so many times, they can do whatever they want. It doesn't make a difference, right? And that's the problem, right? I would like to hold myself to the highest standards of behavior, right? But now, no matter what I say, they're going to say that I'm an evil Nazi. So it's like, I can get on here and, in the past, I wouldn't have quoted the book of Revelations, right? Because I'd have thought, well, somebody might take offense to that, right? It's clearly not anti-Semitism, but somebody might hear it the wrong way. But now it's like they already accuse me of everything. So I might as well say it, right? Why not, right? Yes, just as Lenin and Mao called out those who wave the red flag to oppose the red flag, the early Christian church that was mainly made up of Jews, people of Jewish heritage, they called out those who say they are Jews, but are not Jews. That's what they said. It wasn't anti-Semitism. It said those who say they are Jews, but are not Jews, meaning that people who claim to put out the belief, but don't, but are lying. Right. And it said that those folks, they called them the synagogue of Satan, meaning, and it was referring to the people within the Christian church that were accommodating and joining the Roman Empire. You read the book of Revelations, it's one of the most angry polemics I've ever read about those who speak in the name of Christ, but actually support the Antichrist, support the empire. It's very powerful. There's a quote from it that I posted. I'll read you. This is a quote from it, right? This is one of the quotes from it, right? That I like, right? And again, the whole thing is just a rant against phonies, right? It's a rant against those within the early Christian church, this proletarian movement, right? That were accommodating the imperialists. They were accommodating the Roman Empire. And in Book of Revelations 3, right? What does it say? In Book of Revelations 3, it says, this is what it says. I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot, and I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. You say, I am rich, I have acquired wealth, and do not need a thing. But you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined in fire, so that you can become rich, and white clothes to wear, so you can cover your shameful nakedness, and salve to put your eyes on, so you can see. Those of whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. So be earnest and repent. Here I am. I stand at the door and I knock. And if anyone hears my voice, open the door. I will come in and eat with that person, and they with me. But to the one who is victorious, I will give the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I was victorious and sat down with my Father on his throne. Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Yeah. It's very powerful stuff. I know your deeds and that you are neither hot nor cold. And I wish that you were either one. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. It's powerful stuff. You think that you're rich, right? You say that you are rich, that you've acquired wealth and do not need a thing, but you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked, right? And that's, there you go, right? They're, these sellouts, these phonies, right? Oh, they're not hot or cold. They're not against Christianity, but they're not really enthusiastic about it. They're accommodating with the Roman Empire. They're neither hot nor cold. And so God will spit them out of his mouth because they are neither hot nor cold, right? And they think they're rich. I'm sure those Romans, when they were accommodating the Christian church, when they were accommodating them, and they gave those people money and they thought they were rich. But in reality, they were cold, wretched, and naked because they'd abandoned their principles. You know what I mean? This is, again, it's very weird, the historical parallels that we're living in. Go and read The Foundations of Christianity by Karl Kautsky. Read about how religion and Christianity was an expression of the proletariat in their struggle against the Roman Empire. Read about how the Romans co-opted Christianity as an attempt to save their empire, but it didn't work. I'm telling you, history runs in cycles. It's really wild stuff. But anyway, next question.